Uh-huh.
Woohoo!
And we should be live. Sound check. As we have been already
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking
communicate.
for 15
Yeah.
minutes
So
while I've been searching for my glasses.
exactly. So I would say let's just start going live now. Hi everyone. Say hi in the chat. We have
Hello.
the amazing Jack here and I really wanted to know him more because basically, if you're not
Wow,
that
kind.
active on Twitter, for me, I need to find another way to connect with people. And so I saw him very active on YouTube. He's doing very cool stuff: Next.js, HTMX,
Yeah,
AI,
a lot of that.
front-end tools. So let's
Yeah.
see, because I think that we will have a very good conversation. Of course, feel free to drop any questions. And this is a series that I started in October 2020 by chance, also almost by mistake. And now we crossed 200 episodes. I'm trying to do once in a week.
That's
We had a
great. You
day.
got to keep that cadence. Cadence is everything.
Yes, and
Yeah.
also I made the first 100 episodes in 100 days. So this was like my thing, how also I monetized the channel. And now I'm doing this on a weekly basis. Otherwise, I will turn into a journalist and I will not be a developer anymore. So,
Aren't you a
so now,
developer journalist, though, kind of thing? I mean, I consider myself that. It's like I don't normally write all the stuff that I talk about. I mean, I write all the code, but like the AI libraries that I connect to, or I don't write those. So I feel
nice.
like I'm a journalist of some degree, like an investigative
Perfect.
journalist.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's yes. But I
yeah.
still like to code. So we will see. We will see. We will see. Nice. So Jack, welcome in this talking with Francesco series. And I would
Thank you for
like
having me.
first of all, to just let you introduce yourself. Tell me a bit more about you because I'm honestly interested because I really want to know what about Next.js. Wait a
We'll
moment,
we'll
Dheeraj,
get there.
and
We'll
then
get
you
there.
you you will have everything. Okay.
Sure.
Nice. Let's get started with Jack.
Yeah. So I think we've talked a little bit about age. I think I'm even older than you, but I've been YouTubing around the same amount of time for about the last 3 years or so. I got into YouTubing because I was working at Nike, the big shoe retailer, and I was doing like brown bags. I was a principal engineer there, so I was kind of teaching folks about React hooks and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, I can present to 20 people in a room, or I can present to 2,000 people or whatever, however many I could get on YouTube. And so I started YouTubing, and I just really enjoyed the production, that kind of like how to figure out how to take a piece of knowledge and break it up into its pieces and then present it. And I really wanted to, the take that I had on it was that I wanted to go and make really small videos. Like I was like, okay, if I'm going on YouTube and I want to learn something about, Next.js partial pre-rendering, I don't want to spend an hour. I want to spend, 10, 15 minutes. Like, how do I configure it? What is it? All that kind of stuff, and get it very succinct. And so that's kind of the angle that I took on it, and also very practical. I'm a practical guy. I taught myself how to code when I was 13 years old, many, 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 many years ago. And so for me, it's all about like working with people, building the applications that they want to see, being part of that collaborative process. That's where it's really fun for me. So that's why I called the channel the Blue Collar Coder, because it's like, just get in, get it done. It's not super like conceptual unless it has to be, and just get very practical with it. So yeah, I was and still am, I guess, in some ways a full stack, full-time engineer. Mostly, I would say, for the past decade, primarily on web. I've done a little bit of React Native, but not enough. I want to talk to Infinite Red and maybe do some more of that. Yeah, so that's, and we can keep going. But I was principal engineer over at Nike. Before that, Walmart Labs. And then some little random startups in there, kind of crazy little random startups. So it's been a fun ride.
Nice. For example, I didn't know about this Nike thing, so I know this just now, and it's good because since I know this like live for me, it's great. It's great. Nice,
I'm an
nice.
open
So
book.
so you say that you started coding when you were 13, and now you are 18, so it has been around 5 years, I think.
Right. Yes. I think I'm a junior engineer now. Yes. Yes. Congrats. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
It's funny if I kept, people are always like, oh, what's this? Why do you need constant learning and stuff? And it's like, if you've been in this industry for more than a decade, you know that basically the stuff that you learn when you get into it is pretty much worthless now. I mean, I guess at this point, like we've been with React for a decade, so I guess maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I should extend that to like 15 years or so. But I mean, imagine like, well, okay, I guess for jQuery is still around, but it's not like the big thing. So, you got to just whatever. You got to continuously learn. You got to, and even I would say React, of course, has changed, right? React 10 years ago was create class, and then we had class components, and now we have got hooks, and each one of those, and now we got React server components and all the rest. So you got to keep learning.
Yeah, and I think this is part of the game. Like if you want, I mean, you can try to stay in tech without learning new things, but that will be kind of challenging. Unless you find, that kind of very solid job, it will be very hard to just stay in tech without staying up to date. It's part of the game.
What fun is that?
Yeah, exactly. And
part of it. It's the joy.
Have you ever met someone in tech who said like, "Oh, I'm getting so bored"? Usually, it's always the opposite. You get
right, I'm
overwhelmed.
Exactly. Oh my god. Yeah, the JS fatigue thing, which brings us into the whole HTMX thing, if we will. So, I mean, given that my angle is practical, right? I tend to do a little bit of everything. Like I'll talk about Next.js. I've got a course that I'm working on for that. And then I'll talk, because people are using it, I'll talk about all kinds of stuff. I'll talk about HTMX on the low end, because I think that's actually part of an interesting thing that's happening in our industry right now, is that we're going so complex in some areas that we're getting this massive pushback. It's like that like that sort of like equal and opposite forces kind of thing. We're getting very complex to like partial pre-rendering and parallel routes and yada, yada, yada. And streaming, and then on the other hand, you've got like HTMX over here saying, "Man, just put 14K on a page, let's go."
I understand this. Yes, so we are going back to basically. It seems like a fashion style that like after 10, 20 years, so we get the same new things, and the new generation, they don't know that this was an old thing. Say, "Oh, this is the new shiny thing,"
and you can't say it. Right, you can never say that, because then you're like the old guy. It's like, "Oh, we've been here, done that before," and people are like, "Oh, you're just the cranky old man on the hill, like you don't know anything." And so nobody ever says that, but in reality, it's like, "Oh yeah, signals, yeah, I've never seen PubSub before. Whoa."
Exactly. You need to pretend that you don't know, so otherwise you reveal your age. Right. So that's absolutely nice. So. Nice. Jack, I would like to know more. So you say that you started very early, let's say, coding.
Yeah.
You mentioned different roles. Do you want to share something else, like, I don't know, like your first role in tech? Like, how was it, for example? I don't want to reveal your age, but just you can also give some hints. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Actually, my first role, well, let's go way back. My first role in engineering, I was I got paid $3.50 per hour, which was the American minimum wage in Miami at the time, to do Fortran 77 programming in an orthodontist's office. So, I mean, this is way back on Unix version 7. And then from there, I made some contacts, and I actually started becoming a sysop, like a systems operator / coder. I mean, this is back in the day when basically you did everything. Like a person who was in tech would like run RS-232 cables, as well as code, as well as like maintain the system. It was kind of a grab bag thing, which is kind of cool, because that gave me that foundation of like, you learn everything. Like if you want to be the person who, when someone says, "Hey, should I hire this person?" It's like, can they be more than just this role? If I hired this person for, React Dev, are they going to be cool with like going into the Rust API and making some changes if they can understand it? I hope so. And so as part of my career, I ended up learning a lot of new tech as I went along, and new skills. And then finally, I guess my first like real job was in biosciences, and doing C and C++. Really cool. Spent a lot of time in the C and C++ salt mines. Oh my God, with Microsoft Foundation classes and all that. Eventually, I ended up doing more web stuff, and I got in on like the Web 1.0 kind of .com thing, doing some social networking stuff. Did some rounds of that, so that gave me some like high volume experience. They have experience of like having tons of customers and high throughput sites and CDNs and all that. And then eventually I was skilled enough at that point where it was sort of, senior and lead and principal and architect and all that sort of fun stuff.
Nice.
It's hard to condense literally 40 years of experience into
Exactly. Yes, we would try to squeeze this like someone yesterday asked me Francesco, can you summarize your last 5 years in 30 seconds? I mean, I tried my best, seconds. But it's not easy.
No. Yeah. Doing a lot of stuff. Yes. Go.
Yeah, every day you almost.
Python, React. Yes. Done.
Yes,
Django.
The problem is that those frameworks are not even dead, so they are alive. So just to stay up to date with one single framework, it's a challenge. I would say. I think Django 5 has been released. Yes, we have one question, so I want to bring it up, and then of course we'll jump into content creation, AI, front-end tools. So we are just getting started. I think this is a common question, but I would like to see your point of view on this. So what do you focus on when you learn new things? And what do you think is the most efficient way?
Building something with it. And actually, the HTMX guy has been on this rant for the last couple of days about just build something with it. I'm tired of answering your questions about what it is or this or that, the other thing. Just build something with it and then you'll see. And I think that's one of the things that I try and do right off the bat with something is I kind of envision okay, I've got this new framework, blah, 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 blah. Quick, whatever it is. And I want to learn this thing. What do I think it would be good for? Or if I'm looking at the feature set, what do I think are some interesting aspects of it? And can I build an application that would demonstrate that to me so that I can understand the value proposition? And then I would go build it and I would experience that. What does it actually look like to do out of order streaming and quick, or what is partially the whole partial hydration / resumability thing? What would be a good example of that? And then try and figure out that. I mean, maybe that's the content creator in me, but I think it's also a really good way just to learn something, because as somebody who's making original content on YouTube, you have to work. I mean, you have to actually build it, right? So learning it through building it, I think is the best way that I know of.
I love this answer, and I think that yes, sometimes we miss this when we do coding, but it's so obvious. Let's say, I don't know, with cooking, you need to actually make practice, cook something to understand. You can watch. I mean, it's nice to watch.
Right?
It's nice to watch a cool recipe video, amazing, but you're not improving. You're getting some ideas.
Yes,
but there is no. It's unmatched. I mean,
and that's where I try to find that line of the content is I want to give you enough of a basis of understanding what this thing is to get you going. You understand how to install it. You understand how to do some basic stuff with it. But then I kind of want to leave you with, and here it is, and here's some options for you to experiment yourself. Here's some basic code. And my expectation of my viewers is that they'll just go and take it and hack on it and have some fun. A lot of I'm still doing this after all these years because it's fun. There's nothing like software in the world where you can just go and hack on it and tear it apart and play with it and see what happens. And it's very you're not going to destroy it because you can just get reset head whatever and now you're back where you were, right? It's software.
Yeah, it's one of the benefits of software that the damage you can do is, let's say, contained in some ways.
Yeah.
And yes, you can experiment. You can experiment a lot.
I also do other things in my life. I do woodworking. I do kind of those sort of things. The moment that you cut wood, right? It's cut. It ain't getting uncut. So you got to know. You got to plan. Do all that stuff, right? Whereas with software, it's when you cut it, you just, uncut it.
Control Z.
Yeah. You just rewind. Okay, keep going. That's also I think there's a lot of, I do see, I having done this a lot, we talk with a lot of junior engineers, obviously, you and I, and a lot of what you get is that fear, that fear of I'm gonna mess this up. I'm gonna do blah, 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 blah. And certainly every now and again you hear a random horror story of someone who's, there was one just recently of a guy that got into a job the literal like setup instructions had him putting the prod keys on his computer, and then he like hit reset, and he literally flushed the prod database because of that. But that's random. That's a terrible setup. Nobody should ever do that. It's 99.9% of the time, just experiment, have fun. Like don't be worried about it. As the guy says, git revert. Whatever. There you go.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I agree with this approach, and it is one of the best ways. If you can also share stuff and also become a content creator, you are also adding, I don't know, the Git cherry pick
And I would say
on
the
top.
worst way, correspondingly, is to just read, and then do nothing with it. That is the worst way to learn something, because you've literally, come on, you learn nothing. Sitting there like, binging Netflix while you're reading an article, you're not really learning a lot there, guy. You got to actually use it.
No, no, yes, it's absolutely correct, and I think that this is where many people they get stuck. I would say, they're like in getting started, with the blank VS Code or any of the page.
Well, thankfully we have,
Nice.
Copilot.
Nice. Talking about Copilot, this is perfect to get to now introduce some AI front-end tools. So, Jack, I would like to know from you, like your experience, especially, I think we can all agree that 2023 has been the year of AI. I am old enough that I watched the Terminator movies. I said, okay, AI, since the 80s, AI.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are almost bored with AI now if you are across 35. But
Well,
now it's
that's the
getting
thing.
real.
Yeah.
Now it's getting real for real.
It's getting real, and it's getting less spooky, I would say. I mean, in the beginning, like 2022, what were all the articles about AI? Like GitHub Copilot comes out, and suddenly this has already taken 10 million jobs. We're all doomed. There's never going to be a software engineering job again. Good luck trying to get a job. Enjoy, And then a year later, it's like, well, it's not actually that good. It's, it is what it is. We kind of know. And it's like, it's the 80-20 thing. It's that the tool is going to get you maybe 80% of the way along the line on a good day. And then you're there to do the extra 20%. I mean, obviously it depends, right? So if you're looking at, there are coding assistants, and I actually reviewed, I think, 6 coding assistants recently in a video, and we can talk about like the reviews and all that. I find those, you can be a little bit better. Like when I use GitHub Copilot, as I'm typing, which is the way I tend to use it, I don't tend to use the chat all that much. If I typing in line, it's pretty good for that. Like if I say const sorted names equals, it usually gives me a pretty decent, like, okay, here you go, here's your sort, blah, 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 blah. And that's fine. But if you're looking at like something where you're giving it like a prompt, you're going to the chat and you're giving it a prompt, it'll write 80, 90% depending on the prompt. And then you got to go in and have that experience to know, like, oh, I don't want to use this. This is not going to be all that good within React. Or this is written in an older way. And then go and make the modifications. And that, of course, really depends on the popularity of the framework that you're putting it on, too. If you're asking for React, you're going to get pretty decent samples. But if you're asking it to help you with HTMX, my guess is probably right now, there's not enough of a training corpus going into that it's going to know what to do with that.
Yes, I agree, and I use GitHub Copilot in a similar way. One of the best use cases for me for GitHub Copilot is, for example, let's say if you have a CRUD API, REST API, and I want to use a similar structure, and then you have similar methods.
Yes.
Then GitHub Copilot understands, okay, so this guy wants this, because you can write, of course, a method like in 100 different ways, understands yours. How do you want to structure, if you want to add the error statement, the error handling. So I really like this. I even use it like during the live streams, and even when I code the live. So it's very good. It's very good. Of course, you need to know what to
I
use.
actually got some pushback on that a long time ago. Like, hey, turn off Copilot. That's distracting. And I ended up, I think, turning it off because it would show these kind of like, gray suggestions, and people would get confused by, what is that code what you're going to use or not? I don't know.
Yeah, I
So,
think it depends.
yeah.
It depends on the audience. I turned it off for some videos because otherwise it became like a spoiler of what I want to show. So I don't want this to
Right,
be a
because it does
spoiler.
exactly what it does. It does learn from me, I think. I think it is like replaying a lot of the stuff that I do. So that's why it's getting really good. You know, it's like, oh, wow, okay, you're just replaying the same thing with different variable names.
Yes, that's interesting. So Jack, tell me more about so AI tools, especially for front end. But like, what's your experience? Which one have you used? And
Well,
let's share some lights. Yeah, on this.
sure. So let's talk. Okay, it's kind of like a front to back thing here. One of the biggest pain points that I've had, particularly working in small companies, is the Figma to code transition, right? You've got this cool mock-up, everybody's happy with it, and they're like, okay, make it work. And you're like, great. So I did a video just recently comparing a bunch of the different tools, the AI tools that are now available in both Figma, but also outside Figma to do that move from mock to real. And I think that the top, there was a certain subset. I don't know. Are you familiar with Figma? Have you? Is this
Yeah,
vibing with
yeah,
you
yeah.
at all? Okay.
I'm not a designer, but I'm familiar enough that you can talk Figma to me. I would say.
Okay, sure. I mean, I'm not familiar with Figma either, but they added this developer mode, and now we're supposed to be like, oh wow, great, thanks guys. Here you go. There are some subset of tools, like I think Locofy, Copycat, Diewise, Firejet. That basically what they do is they take the tree that's in Figma already, since it's just like a graphical editor. It's got like a tree of like nested stuff. And they basically turn that into whatever you want, like React plus Tailwind. They've got a couple of different configurations. And they're going to do like a really, like, oh, if this is a long rounded rectangle that if I'm an actual human, I look at it and go, that's an input field. They're just going to turn it into a long rounded rectangle, which is not great. What you really want is you want an input field, right? So then there's like a step up above that of a couple of cooler plugins like Builder and Anima that actually go and will kind of use AI to detect that is an input, this is a button, and then they'll go and generate code that does that, which is great. And then there's a couple of tools like V0 and Screenshot to Code. And I think there's also a Screenshot to HTML on Hugging Face that you just literally give it a screenshot and then it will generate the code for you. And weirdly, those actually do better than the ones that are actually integrated into Figma sometimes, which is weird because you'd think you'd have like, there's more data in Figma, like there's more information, more context and all that, but they don't do as well. So one in particular, the one that actually won my little side-by-side taste test was Screenshot to Code. It's a open source project. You do have to have an OpenAI key, but you basically take a screenshot, you drop it onto this thing, and then it gives you code, but it then gives you a way to basically kind of re-inject it and say, well, you kind of messed up this section, make these changes, and hopefully it gets it better on the second time or third time. Again, it's one of those 80-20 things. My expectation is it'll get me about 80% along the way, and from there I can kind of pick it up and actually make it my own. But I really haven't seen... Again, it's one of those limits things. Everybody's like, oh my God, it's going to take our jobs. But it's like, no, not really. Like if you're going to use like component libraries or any of that, you're kind of on your own for that.
Yeah, I think they are powerful tools in the right hands, but that's it, because you still have to know what you are doing, basically. But I've heard
to not have them because they make a good starting point.
Absolutely, and now because I heard computers taking our jobs since Google came out. Now that you have a Google search engine, we don't need developers anymore. Now that we have Stack Overflow, we don't need developers anymore. But I mean, at some point,
now we have was it like there was an XML thing to like allow architects to like sketch out a whole system and then generate code from that. It's like, nope, we're not going to need more engineers. No, what you're actually going to do is you're going to generate a lot of code that engineers have to go fix.
I mean, we are still talking about XML, so things are very hard to die.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, nothing against XML, of course, but if you developed any SOAP architecture, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, soap, and what was the other one? XSLT and XPath. The less I hear about those for the rest of my life, I'm
think
good.
I think I removed this as a trauma for the
From your resume?
Complete.
Yeah. Long ago, I removed C and C and C++. I mean, if I was going to do it all over today, I mean, obviously I think Rust and Go are far better solutions.
I love it. Before we keep going, I'm really enjoying this episode, Jack. I remember that my first resume was like that long with many technologies. And now I put just 2 or 3, maybe
the one
4.
you actually want to work on. Yeah.
So my resume is actually reducing. It's not expanding.
That's a good thing. So I was talking with, I did a video with a Netflix hiring manager because I'm seeing all these junior engineers out there. They're looking to get their first job. I know I've been on both sides of that table. I know what I'm looking for from a resume, and I wanted to get their some highfalutin folks' feedback on what they thought would be a good resume. And so I talked to this guy from Netflix, really awesome guy, Jem Young, and we were talking about like what you really want to do is when you have a company that you're really interested in, like I really want to work for Netflix, or I really want to work for whoever it is. Like get that job rec and then take your resume and actually change it. Like put up the stuff, bold the pieces that are in that job rec. Like if they're asking for GraphQL and that seems to be the main thrust of what they're looking for as a GraphQL person, make sure that experience is right at the top and the GraphQL is highlighted.
Yes, of course. This will be the best way to adapt the CV. Of course, I highly recommend to don't lie on a CV because there is not things as cringe. For example, I've been a recruiter for a while. Like, so you want to put your candidate in the best conditions. So you ask something based on the resume. Like, okay, so you wrote here that you did this, but I'm trying to help you because I'm reading your resume. And then I discovered that you actually didn't do that. So that's it's really, my trust really goes to 0. So just say honest things on the resume, or at least things that you want are actually ready to talk about and get ready. This is a friend to friend tip to get a job.
Yeah, I would say one thing that's important, and Francesco, you're saying this as well, is I want you to win. Right, as a hiring manager or as a person looking at a resume, I wouldn't be on the phone with you or on the Zoom call if I didn't think that was valuable time. My time is valuable, and I expect you to win. Right, so I'm going to try to bring out the best from your resume.
I love this because I think some people who are looking for a job, they think that the hiring manager is like their enemy. It's not.
Right.
My goal is to hire you.
Yes.
I want to hire you, so my job is also done.
Wait, I'm going to spend hours of my day just like shooting down candidates? What the heck? What? How is that possibly good for my company as a good use of my time? Of course it's not. So yes, I want to see you win.
Nice. Let's take this question and then we go back on the AI front-end tools. But I see that you tried many, but I want to try to reply to Coding Gimmick. What do you think makes a good junior developer? What do you think that this
a voracious appetite for learning, for sure. We'll get to the standout thing, and we can talk about like the standout resume pieces and all that. But a voracious ability to learn is the real hallmark, right? You want someone who, yes, sure, you've got opinions, that's fine about, use of technology and this and that, but also you want to be able to get into a situation, learn how they do stuff, learn if you, like, is that a good thing? Like, or, I think what I see in a lot of junior devs is, look, they're coming out of boot camp or they're fresh out of, like, college with some web stuff on top of it or whatever, and they're like, oh, it's the way that I know that works is React Redux, or something like that, because that's what the professor taught. Whereas the reality of it is, maybe the company they're getting into isn't using cutting edge tools, or maybe they're using something else, And so you want to make sure that as you get into the job, you're learning from them first before trying to kind of foist your stuff onto them and say, oh, this isn't the right way. Like that, I think that's one of the things that I see folks as a mistake kind of getting into right away, which is trying to push your learnings back onto the company, because companies, generally speaking, they make decisions based on what works for them. So make sure that you understand why it works for them first before trying to fix it or whatever.
Yes, yes, and of course, I think that a huge difference is like you should really understand what does it mean to work with like real code, because when we do like
Yes.
in college, I was doing like, I don't know, UML diagrams and then all this case study, but sometimes a startup they really don't have this approach. I mean, that maybe is the ideal world. It's nice that to know that these things exist. It's good, but then we have the practical approach. Maybe you have I don't know a horrible legacy code, or you can't. For example, when I was working on the European Space Agency, you can't turn the database off because that thing has to be operating 24/7. So you need to operate in a way that you work with a database which is always online. So it's not like we're doing. And I made a database exam at the university, but you delete all the relations, then you build it again. It's okay, it's fine.
Right.
You can't do this with production ready code. So understanding as soon as possible, even if you're a junior, the difference. What does it mean to do like real world old applications?
And this is what we talk about when you're there. We always joke that it's like you're creating the 747 in flight. You're flying, like everything's going, and you're kind of like bolting stuff onto the plane as you go. You're not landing, like it's not stopping. So when it comes to like your databases and stuff, yes, if you alter the table and add a field to everything and it blocks the database, that's not going to be good. But the thing has to crank on. So you have to have architectures that allow you to go and kind of continue to build on the thing in flight. Yeah.
Yes.
But
Sorry.
Oh, no. Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned like crappy code and getting into legacy code bases and things like that. Another skill is to identify like what is the most impactful change to that. Because if you've got a system where you've got like everything's out of date and everything is nasty, like which changes are actually going to be the most important or relevant to the customer or to the company, right? So if the company is going in X direction and they've got a legacy code base that is making it hard, like how can you identify the parts and pieces that are making it hard to go in that direction? So you're not trying to fix everything. You're just trying to fix the stuff that is actually meaningful to the next revision that you want to get to. And living with crap sometimes. I'll be honest.
Yes, and also I think another thing that can skill that is really useful is code refactoring, because usually, for example, during college I never like refactored real code because I was creating a nice project, everybody was happy, this is nice, very well presented, and it's fine. Usually, when you join a company, even if it's a startup or a big company, you will refactor a lot of code. At least maybe it was my case, but I remember some good moments when I started a project from scratch. It was emotional moment. But in the 80%, 90% of the cases, you're actually refactoring old code, trying to add some new features. This is what usually happens.
What felt better, though? Writing greenfield code and like, ooh, that's cool, or doing a really good refactoring?
Okay,
when the code gets smaller and you're like, ooh.
Jack, the best. So once I had to refactor, I'm not joking, 10,000 lines of code HTML thing. So one of the best days of my coding career, it was to reduce that to 10,000 to 5,000 lines of code. I never felt so good with the same exact functionality. So I just refactor, and without there was not ChatGPT or other tools. And it was just refactoring. Code duplications, the code worked exactly in the same way, but I was breathing.
Yeah. I remember I had one where it was a startup, and we had an Electron app. We had an Electron app, and we wanted to make it so that like the core of the Electron app, the actual like guts of it, were also in a Next.js app. So you could hit it from the web, or you could download the desktop app, and it would have some additional stuff because it's a desktop app, but it would have a lot of the core functionality. And I spent a weekend tearing the thing apart, putting it into a monorepo, refactoring it such that like all the shared functionality was in a package, and it was amazing and fun and blew my mind when it worked. And it was one of the most joyous experiences I've ever had. Like, it was just so much fun to actually get it to actually work. A couple of things saved my butt, though. Anytime you do this refactoring stuff, TypeScript is big. Like, TypeScript will save your butt when it comes to refactoring. And then also unit tests. So if you're fixing like a small piece of well understood code, right, make sure that like you have the unit tests first, and then you can just rip the heck out of it. And as long as that test pass, then whatever code you replaced it with is good to go.
I absolutely agree, and this can really save your life, I would say. Or
I don't know how you figured that out with 10,000 lines of HTML, though. Like how would you know that it was the same 5,000 is good?
The only thing I remember, it was that the logic was tied to CSS. So based on the status of CSS, the logic was tied to the CSS.
Oh, like you had class names that had like, if this is in class name active, then that's
exactly.
You're storing data in the CSS classes.
Exactly.
Great.
Don't do that. I'm talking about what you should not do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
people do scary things. I had a guy in my comments I did on a video just recently on HTMX. Of course, my viewership's mainly React Next.js. So I was doing an HTMX video, and the guy's like, I think I'm going to use HTMX on the front page of my next site. I'm like, what? Like, no. Like, these, like, you've already got it. Like, what are you doing? And people come up with these scary combinations of technologies, and it's like, I don't know what you're doing there, but like, I would strongly recommend against that. But nobody ever listens to me when it comes to that stuff. They're like, I like it anyway. I'm just gonna do it. Okay. Don't store state in your CSS class names. Good Lord.
Nice. Don't do that. Don't do that.
It's very jQuery. Like, remember we had like data dash.
Yeah,
but that's somewhat better at least.
Exactly. So I remember me like say, okay, so this page is a bit messy, so let's try to remove a couple of classes just so I see this like in a better way, and it stopped working. So it's like, okay, why did it stop working? I just removed the sub CSS style.
Right. Oh my God. I would be petrified at the moment that I saw that. I'd be like, no, this is not good.
Exactly. No, and I remember that, then we'll keep talking. So basically, also the CSS class was generated based on a logic. So we was generating a CSS class with some logic, like to create pages. Okay. I'll stop here, Jack, because otherwise we'll have a very bad moment.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the front end. Full stack roles. Are they merging? Because the full stack is the cool kid, you mean, but what about real front end roles, or like how do you think that it behaves nowadays?
I mean, I've never really been, I would say, a dedicated front end developer. Like, I guess to me, I've always had whatever skill set it takes to get the job done, and that if that means hacking on the back end, then great, I'm in. I mean, I guess there are certain people who were constraining themselves to just, I guess, anything in the browser, but I don't know. So if that's the case, yeah, I do think that front end as a just that is probably a limited role that probably won't. Who knows? I'm sure there'll be some rules out there forever, but whatever. I do think, the trends are more pushing stuff back towards the server. You're seeing, like, certainly Next.js is pushing more stuff back towards the server. There's a lot of cool functionality coming out of that. And then, of course, HTMX is basically what they call hate OAS, HTML as the engine of application state. So everything is back in the browser. You're just, if you want to make a change to the page, You're hitting the browser. You're hitting the server. The server is sending you back new HTML that represents the changed state of the system.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that nowadays, I think that we are going to a direction where, of course, companies also they ask more to developers. So we should we should know more things. Like maybe 30 years ago, if you know just jQuery, you could actually find a job, even live a meaningful life. Probably, no, maybe not. But like it was you could focus more on one single aspect. Now, in some ways, coding has become easier, let's say, because we have so many tools, cool AI tools. But of course, this is the market that we have to request that, like, maybe you need, even if you are focused, even if you are hired as a React developer, probably companies, they expect that you know how to interface with the backend team, the API, how do they work, maybe even a bit of DevOps, because at this point, like say it's something that companies they request this more. And I think yes, that you know the meme of like the companies like with like 20-30 like requirements for a junior position. That's a meme, but usually companies they want you to do many things. Let's go with this one. Why is it so hard, or is it hard to find the front-end jobs? What do you think?
Like purely front end jobs? Like, I don't know. I actually don't find it all that hard. It definitely seems like the hiring is kind of picking up again. Like I'm getting pings, just personally, and then I'm seeing a lot on like Glassdoor. I will say all of them are remote nowadays, which is kind of sad in a weird way. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's hard for junior engineers. That's a problem because companies are starting to shift more towards smaller teams as opposed to smaller teams of more senior, mid and senior level engineers as opposed to I think smaller, larger teams of junior developers with a few senior developers thrown in. That seems to be the trend that I'm seeing more of that shift. So for junior developers, I would say that there's certainly some hiring problems, which is why, I'm trying to, again, talk to hiring managers and see, what are some ways that we can help you guys like focus your resumes and get that job. But again, there are 4.5 million engineers out there now. That's a lot.
Yes, I think that probably it's harder to find your first role in tech. There is maybe it's harder usually. Mm-hmm. Getting your second job in tech is probably 10 times easier than getting your first role. Yeah. So just keep going. If this has been hard for you to find one job, and so that's it. This is my opinion that you should really push.
But also, like I would say, networking, right? People, I know that I don't want to sound like it's an old boys club, but getting out there, going to meetups, contributing to open source projects, being active in their discords, basically find what you are interested in. Like if it's like, oh, I want to do animations are really my jam, go find an animations library or something and go and the one that you want to contribute to or work with, and go and write some Medium articles or some Dev2 articles about it, and maybe tweet about it or whatever, and become kind of a person in that space. And then when folks are looking around for people to do stuff, like your name will be in that ring. So that's I think you gotta do that networking. I think when you mentioned give me your work history, it's like all of the first jobs that I had. In fact, I think the majority of the jobs that I've had have been referrals. Like I talked to somebody, they knew me, and I very, very rarely did I ever go through a cold interview process and get a job.
Same for me. Nobody knocked at my door and said, "Hey, Francesco, do you want a job at the European Space Agency?" No, it was a referral of my university professor. So it was a referral.
There you
go.
Of course. Exactly. Right. They knew you. They knew you could do stuff. They worked with you in the past, and then they're like, "Oh, this guy seems to know what his deal is."
Yeah, usually I say like people knocking at your door. Usually they want to sell you something. Usually they don't hire you.
Yeah.
Yes, nice. I would like now to take some time, at least 5 minutes, to talk a bit more about HTMX, because
Yeah.
I see that you're getting ready. I see you are getting
Well,
ready like now to speak, because I
step by
heard
step.
about this. I thought it was a meme at the beginning.
It is
Then
a
I
meme.
saw
I mean, it's not
that,
a meme, but I mean, his Twitter game is strong.
yeah, it's very strong.
Yeah.
I saw one video by Melky. I don't know if you know him, the guy, software engineer at Twitch, about HTMX. And then I saw that you were also creating some content out of it. I don't know,
I'm fascinated by it.
a lot lately. So, can you talk a bit about this, and maybe how this in the front end area maybe does work? Can you make me a recap of this? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. It'll be very reminiscent to you and me of jQuery times. So basically, the idea is you put this one library, it's 14K, on your page. And obviously, you're going to cache that across your whole site. And literally, that is the JavaScript that you will run. That is it. As you build your application out, as you add more functionality, it's still going to be on top of that same 14K original package. And what that original 14K package does for you is you can go, as a quick example, and put onto, say, a button tag, hx dash, so hx is the prefix for HTMX, get equals like slash, I don't know, people. Like, if you got like an API, all right, slash API slash people. And then hx dash target, and then like hash people list or something like that. And then what happens is HTMX like goes through the full DOM, goes and finds all these little HTMX attributes, and then basically puts on all the event handlers and all that. So when you click on that button, it goes and does that GET request to that endpoint. That endpoint should return HTML, not JSON, or JSON, whatever. And go and take that and it goes and takes that HTML and then puts it into that div, that target div. And there's all kinds of HX attributes that you can pull, you can add, so you can do some triggers, you can like have it pull. It's integrated with server-side events, so it's actually a pretty robust system, but it's primarily focused on updating the UI from the server. So you can do posts, you can do gets, you can do puts, whatever, and then you get back content from the server that then updates the UI. So it's very server driven, and that's why you see a lot of folks saying this is like the back end developers coming back into it kind of thing. It's the way that back end developers would do UI. So really nice is that you can go and use, in your case, Rust or Go, whatever you want to drive the front end with, as long as you are sanitizing your tags. Like that's the big deal, or at least the big security impact of all of this. Like when HTMX first came out, a lot of folks are freaking out about the security impact of it because it is amenable to cross-site scripting attacks. If you don't sanitize your data, but a lot of frameworks do that by default. I think I tried it with Rust. I think there are n number of Rust frameworks out there for building pages, and they all sanitize. On the PHP side, PHP does not natively sanitize, but Laravel does. I use Astro when I do my stuff because my viewers are mostly JavaScript and TypeScript folks, and Astro makes this really, really easy. So, and it does all the sanitization. So, yeah, no, it's really nice. Where HTMX falls down is that if you're not actually communicating with the server, if you're just like hiding and showing things on the page or making that kind of interactive stuff, that HTMX doesn't really have anything there. So what folks do, they'll take HTMX and Alpine. Alpine's a similar kind of thing, but more for like an inline templating system, like a kind of a view sort of thing. So they'll join those two together. So they get HTMX to do the posting and the putting and the getting of the data or the HTML, and then they'll use Alpine to go and make like, I want to show a hamburger menu, show and hide a hamburger menu. So they'll use Alpine for that. And Alpine's a similar sort of thing. It's 10, 20K of JavaScript that you put on the page. So now you're talking 34K of JavaScript, and you've got every bit of JavaScript that you need to run your whole app.
Getting very, very interesting. This is my second, let's say, time that like I interact with something related to HTMX. At some point, probably also create something, but just want to put this on the hold because I'm still doing a lot of like backend stuff, Docker stuff. But probably at some point I will try it out. So
I think you should, and I
let's
think
see.
all front end developers should at least try something like this because it really, in the last decade, we've gotten so into this world of SPA. Of like, oh, the APIs we're gonna talk to, we're gonna talk JSON, we're gonna get back this data, we're gonna render it using components, and that's what we think the world is and forever has been because we've been doing it for a decade now, right? But before that, with jQuery, we were doing this all the time. You put a little jQuery on there, hit a button, we go off and make a REST request to go get some HTML, we go and throw it in a div. That was web development. And it is a totally different way of thinking about a web app. And so I think whether it's HTMX or something else, learn that. Get exposure to that because it is a fundamentally different way of thinking about constructing web applications. And it's okay. For a certain type of application, it's okay. I think a lot of folks fall into this notion of, I'm going to learn one framework. It's going to be great for every type of application that I'll ever build my entire life. And that thing is called React and Next. And that's it. But fact of the matter is, like, React and Next are actually overkill for content sites. And things like this are fantastic. Like this, there's no hydration. There's no nothing. It's just there.
Yes, I like this. I like this approach, and I like the idea of understanding different technologies and different frameworks because they can really fit the different needs. And
Yeah.
this doesn't mean that Next.js is bad. I'm a huge fan of
No, not at
Next.js.
all. Absolutely. All right. But I mean, I'm not going to write, you talk about, like, I think somebody came up with like different phenotypes of sites. There's like your blog site, there's your kind of e-commerce site, and it's sort of scaling in complexity, right? And then at the top end, there's like your Figma, which is like crazy amounts of complexity of canvas manipulation and da 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 da. Right? And do you really think one framework is going to be great at all of those different points? No. Like, I think Next.js has amazing capabilities in like the e-commerce space and the low end of the high end, of very highly interactive sites before you get to the spa space. Yeah, so I think each one has like a band. But if you talk to the framework creators, they'll tell you my thing's good for everything. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. One fit to rule them all.
Rule them all, exactly. One ring to rule it all, sort of thing.
Glad that you get the reference.
Always.
I want to take a couple of questions from the audience and then we'll start to wrap up. We're already at across 50 minutes. I don't know if this is possible, Jack, to be honest.
This is so much fun.
So I feel lost or disinterested while reading docs. So this does mean that you're already reading the docs, so you're already like in the 20% of the developers who read the docs. This is a joke, of course.
No,
Any tips to solve this issue?
Not really a joke. I think it's really good. It's really true. Good on you for trying to read the docs in the first place. That's great. I do, getting back to our point earlier about how you will not learn anything by just reading the docs. It's just not, like, you have to get that muscle memory of actually trying it. And so I think, Akash, like, what I would do is read the docs for the things that what's interesting to you and practical to you in this moment, the thing that you want to build right now, and then use the docs in parallel with building it, and that'll be more fun and certainly engaging than just reading the docs. I'm with you, brother. I don't really want to read docs. I'd rather watch The Lord of the Rings. I'd rather watch there's 1,000 different things I'd rather do than just read a bunch of docs.
But I mean, if 100% of the people would enjoy reading the docs, YouTube will be like 3 videos,
Sure,
4
yes,
videos.
of course.
So
go watch my videos if you don't like that.
It's okay. It's basically the job of the YouTuber is exactly this. What I'm doing with the Rust series is not rocket science. I'm just reading the docs for you, transforming that into videos because I like the process. So you can just go and watch some videos on read articles of people who maybe they have a style which is more suitable for you.
Yes,
that's
okay.
The thing.
And I gotta say, I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm dyslexic. Was like diagnosed with dyslexia when I was 13. I was, failing through school. Blah, 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 blah. And this is back in the day when they really didn't understand dyslexia or know how to deal with it. And so I learn differently. I learn audio. Audio is a fantastic source for me to learn stuff, but also just playing with it, just interacting with it. And it's the technique that in educational circles, they call it constructivist learning, which means that the best way to learn how to make a watch is to make a watch, to actually here, I'll give you some parts and pieces and you actually do it. And so I learn better that way. And so all my videos are trying to teach me, how to do stuff. And they're all constructed the way that I learn. So I learn best by doing stuff. And I think that's fine. I don't learn well via docs. And so that I think I create content specifically because I want people to be able to learn. I want people to be able to use all this amazing stuff that we have out there. But I know that myself, I don't learn well from docs. So I'm creating my own educational resources.
Yes, and I would like to add a small tip. If you don't enjoy reading the docs, you maybe you understand which are the problems, so you can even turn this into some content creation ideas.
Yeah.
Because if you have a problem, this can be turned into a strength because you understand the people that don't like reading docs too, so you can create something for them. This is also what I do. Yeah, because
and don't feel like it's you're bad for not being a person who works well with docs. There's no judgment here. I'm if that's bad, then I'm terrible because I'm just that's not great. I mean, I'm just not good with it, and so I tend to figure it out on my own, and I think that's fine. And as Francesco says, do that. If the docs don't work for you, but you find a way to learn it on your own, and you want to make an article out of it, or you want to make I don't know, whatever you want, like a podcast, I guess, or video. Yeah, do it, man. Get in there. And I think that's one of the great things about YouTube is we've been doing it for 3 years. We got nice setups and all that sort of stuff and fancy cameras, but you don't need all that. Just get out there.
Nice. I love it. I can feel the Nike influence on what you're saying now.
Just do it.
It should be sponsored.
I will say, okay, in terms of culty companies, Nike was kind of culty, but the one that was really culty was Walmart. Actually, they had a cheer, and certain parts of the company do a full-on cheer every morning.
Wow.
Nice. I still remember the Walmart cheer, oddly.
Nice. So they gave me, they asked me something, but I also would like you to reply if you want. Hey, Francisco, what's the best piece of advice do you ever get? I think it was not related to tech, but it was more enjoy more your life, in a period when I was not that happy and how I am now. It was many years ago. So probably that was the best advice. So something that just care less about bad things, focus on the good things. So this I think has been the best advice. I still live by that advice. I got this more than 15 years ago, and it worked. So this was my best piece of advice. What about you, Jack? Do you have one advice that you really loved?
I think give yourself a break, to be honest. I think we are our own harshest critics. I remember when again, back to that dyslexia point, I hated myself. I'm so stupid. Oh, I can't learn. Oh, I don't know anything. What am I going to do with my life? I'm blah, 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 blah. And I was so hard on myself. And I eventually found my thing, which was computer programming, which, was not a thing back in the day, but has turned into a huge thing, which is great. Thank goodness for that. Was really lucky. But I was my own worst enemy, just, constantly pounding on myself. And if I give myself a little bit of a break, it's okay to be me. It's not going to change. If I can't read well or whatever, I'm sure you can practice and you can get better and all that. But you just got to give yourself a break, because I think people are a lot harder on themselves than the real world is on them.
I love this. I also very hard with myself usually, and I think also as accepting this, I don't know, makes you like feel better, and
It
then you can
does.
create, do things, accepting who you are. I think it's, I don't know, that's like next level, like
Yeah.
almost we're almost in the philosophical uh, part, but it can really change your life because once you accept like I am like this, let's say, I don't know, I am an introvert, and but I can do videos anyway. This is what unblocked me on YouTube because if I say no, I need to be something else. I need to
Hmm.
change me. If you want, try to fight with yourself, you'll always lose.
Yeah.
If you accept yourself, then you become
Yeah.
you unlock your superpowers.
I mean, I guess I'm an introvert. I'm not very good at like parties and stuff. I go to parties and people are like, I try to put myself into conversations and I'm like, I don't know, what am I doing here? Kind of thing. But yeah, this thing, whatever this is, seems to work okay. So you go with that. But these are learned skills, right? In the 3 years that you've been doing this, you've learned about how to feel comfortable in front of cameras and how to talk and just don't worry about it.
Yes, yes. And in case you don't believe in me, because now I'm getting better. So people say, no, Francesco, you are a natural born talent. You check the first interview of this series,
Oh
and
my
you will
God.
understand. You will understand the difference. So don't do that. But in case you're really curious, you will find an answer there. Let's go back with some AI cool stuff. Which are your thoughts on the future of front-end development with AI? So this is the main topic. Would
Mhm.
people need to be more generalist or specialized, and in what?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think we're ever going to lose AI at this point. I do think, yeah, I actually think that AI will start removing some of the specialization. Do I? Okay. It certainly makes things easier. Like I don't have to know as much directly. I can kind of guide it more. But then again, the AI hallucinates so much. Like I think you should have this, and your framework should do this, and it's like, no, that API doesn't exist or whatever, and that's hard. I don't know. I think it's great. I think the future of the front end AI with AI is bright. Like I find myself much more productive with it. What I worry about, and this is actually something, my daughter's in college, and her take, she's actually actively against AI, using AI in her own learning because she thinks that it stunts people's growth. And I do think there's a kernel of truth there. That if you lay on the AI too much early on in your learning, in your development, then that you're not going to learn because you're letting it do the work for you. There is a certain amount of that, and I don't know if we've fully grasped how big of a challenge that's going to be. I only look at it from my perspective, which is I've been doing this a while, and AI helps accelerate stuff because it literally just kind of like pre-types the things that I would do anyway. What that means from a learner's perspective, I don't really know. I don't think any of us knows.
Yeah, I mean, either. So I don't know if you will have like everybody will have the time to do things like in the slow way because things are moving so fast. But I think taking some time to at least understanding the core concepts, it's a long way. And
Yeah.
did you ever meet someone who said like, "Oh, Jack, I wasted so much time learning fundamentals. I should have skipped to more advanced stuff." No, it's always the opposite. Like, or not.
A little bit. I mean, I will say I don't know how much data structures and algorithm stuff I tend to use in a daily
Mhm.
basis in front end dev. Like I don't remember, I can't remember the last time I inverted a binary tree. Um,
Me neither.
right. So there's that. But I do think, yeah. So, but I think those fundamentals are good. Like I'm glad that I learned them on my own back in the day. They were certainly helpful along the way of understanding why things like, okay, removing the DOM and re-adding the DOM is going to be a problem because I understand the mechanics underneath of rebuilding that tree and reparsing everything and all that. So there's that.
Nice. Yes, I promised a DSA course when I'll reach 100K on YouTube. I promised this. I say, okay,
Yeah, you
I'm
might be
safe.
there
I'm
soon.
I'm saying that no, I'm safe for 5 years, and now I'm going 1K subscribers per day. So I think I'm doomed,
Yeah, no,
Jack. But it's,
congratulations, really, honestly. Like you got a 10K in a month.
thank you.
That's amazing.
15. Okay, yeah, it's a lot.
15K
It's a
in a
lot.
month?
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Whoa.
I'm not changing a single thing.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah, and behind the scenes, guys, we are a lot like baseball. I mean, you may not know the reference, but kind of like inside baseball. It's like we all have our superstitions about what worked.
I was
and
working
what
in
didn't,
sports, so I understand
you know?
this.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, right. You're a coach, right? So it's like we won that game by pulling left sock on first, right sock on second. So from here on out, it is left sock first, baby. We're doing this, and yeah, you get a good one. I'm so ridiculous about it. I don't generally. I just kind of look at my own stuff. I'm like, I would watch that, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Nice. Let's take a couple of more questions, and then I'll let you go. Jack. So of course we can make a whole episode just on this, but since I think I see issues here, let's try to help Hakash. And first of all, thank you so much for like putting this question like up, because maybe some people have the same issue.
Great questions, Akash.
They are scared to ask. So probably you are helping someone in the audience that are too scared to ask. So how do you guys deal with burnouts? I mean, is there a bug in my code that couldn't stop thinking about it and feel lost amongst people, and also get angry sometimes? So what do you think about this?
It feels like those are two separate things. Like I certainly get lost in bugs. I will give you 100% empathize with that if something's not working, and I think that's actually a good thing, because that's your mind focusing on it, and this occupation requires focus. I would say that if when I run into those situations where I'm focused on something and I can't get away from it, I tend to go like a run or something like that, and by the end of the run, I don't know what it is, like magic, I will have like, even without having thought about it, like at a certain point, I'd be like, oh, right, this is initialized before that. Oh, okay, that's the thing. Whoops, I got to figure it out. And then you get back, and then you're trying to like, oh man, I got another 20 minutes. I got to get back to the house. I got to remember this. What's the fix? What's the fix? And I get back and okay, done. I fixed it, sort of thing. It happens a lot. But burnout, wow, that's a big issue on its own.
I also think there are two different things. So burnout is more a status, because it's a long story. There is a process of psychology involved that I think that getting angry because maybe you want to solve something, and I echo what Jack says. I'm also still a runner and go for walks and runs every day. Basically, you need to reset things, because it's harder than what it seems to code. If you when you try to understand, you need the resets, you need breaks. Otherwise, you're literally. It happened to me. I don't know. I stared like the screen for like 4 hours. It's like, what am I doing? Like, no, I could have done. Literally took a long nap, maybe a whole like sleep. So in that case, it's always better. And I think with experience, you understand. You start to understand yourself. Say, okay, it's time to take a break now, and then I'll get back at this. I'll do something else. I'll clean my house. I'll do my harder stuff, because so I can do something in the meanwhile, and then I'll be back, and of course I'll solve that issue. Now I think that there are also many tools. I think a great use of AI is that you can actually give the error to AI,
Yes.
and help. They will help you to solve your issue, which is amazing, because sometimes there is also the memes, like you try to copy paste this on the Stack Overflow, maybe you find an outdated solution, you don't know. In that case, you can try to use AI to solve your issue. I think the first thing is identify the problem. Sometimes it happened to me that I didn't even understood what was the problem. Like what is the problem? It's a unit problem. It's a connection problem. It's something like a whole system problem. And also I always make the joke that like if something is not working, is either the configuration, the DNS, or something else, but it's never the code. So it's
yeah, that can be the case. Another thing I found that's good is I run a Discord server, the Blue Collar Coder Discord server, and we have rules for posting a bug or posting an issue. And people come up with all kinds of issues. They'll go on there and they'll talk about all kinds of stuff. But it's a whole rundown of things of like, okay, create a minimum reproduction set that has just the code in it that is having the error. Tell us what you did, how tell us what you're looking for, like what does working mean? And it's this whole set of steps to like figure out what make a good issue that you can pass on to somebody else. And what I find is a lot of folks going through that process will find and fix the issue, because taking it apart and trying to figure out like what is a minimum viable thing, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna start with like a clean slate Vite application, and then I'm going to add in this library, and I'm going to add in that library, and step by step, I'm going to kind of build up to this example of what the problem is, and then you realize like, oh, it's like when I brought in this library, things started to go sideways, and these things are conflicting, and it's blowing up, and I found my bug, that sort of thing, and it sometimes never really expect it, but. Yeah, going through that process of trying to set up something where you're going to communicate what your issue is with somebody else can often help you find that issue. And the shorthand for that is rubber duck debugging. Literally like,
Love it.
hey, I'm going to talk to this thing and explain the problem. And in explaining the problem, I will find the bug.
Yeah, and of course, if you're, for example, on the content creator thing, it happened to me to do like 12-hour live streams, like very long live streams, and you can use your audience as rubber duck, because you need to explain what's going on the screen with the audience. I lost count on how many times I got stuck during a live stream, and then I said, okay, we have a bug here. Now, what's the issue? And just explaining this to the audience again, I found the solution, because I was just explaining to people in the chat, in the YouTube chat. It happened so many, countless times.
I don't know. How do you do a 12-hour, like I've the longest live stream I've ever done is actually we're probably over the longest live stream I've ever done. I can't even imagine doing a 12-hour live stream. Do you go to the bathroom? Like,
no.
Do you go eat lunch?
Okay, so I don't go to the bathroom. No, I'm joking. Of course I do.
What? Like, I don't understand the mechanics.
I think my past as a gamer helps me a lot. I would say.
Okay. Yeah.
There is one trick. The trick is this one. You need to take breaks, let's say, periodically since the beginning. Like, usually I do the live stream. After 40 minutes, I do the first break. Because if you do your first... I take break. And
how long's the break? Like
5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Okay, so you realize a real break. You can walk around.
But I think
you can get a cup of coffee. You can go pee. Okay, good.
Exactly. Right. But the secret is to take breaks since the beginning, because at the beginning you say, okay, maybe I can do 2 hours and a half, and then you become absolutely wasted. Okay. I start after 40 minutes, and I start doing breaks, even if I don't feel it. Like, for example, now we are in system, and also I prepare even physically. Like, I go for a run before the day before. I do of course a shower just right before the live stream. So, but now I stopped doing this.
Smell you. Woo. Dude,
yeah, of course. No, of course. But you can do it. Now I find myself doing shorter live streams, because in the remaining hours I can actually edit the video and prepare like 6 videos. So it's probably not worth the time if you know what you are doing on YouTube. Yeah. You know that on 12 hours you can do full-fledged edited video. But that's another story, Jack. So I think that we have been going for maybe a bit longer. I'm sorry for taking you a bit longer, but Jack, I'm enjoying this. I really enjoyed this, our first collaboration.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. If you want to say something before we wrap up, I know that Jack doesn't need my help, but check his YouTube channel, check his on all the social media. He's super active, super energetic. He'll teach you a lot of stuff. He's doing Next.js stuff, HTMX, many videos. I saw videos with almost 200,000 views. Jack, just let's end this first collaboration, and then I'll let you go. Promise.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, like and subscribe this video, but subscribe to Francesco, and then go over and if you want to check out my videos and subscribe to the Blue Collar Coder channel. I love that. Jump on the Discord. Happy to have you there. Ask your question. Read and follow the rules, and then ask your questions. It's a great community. And I'm working on a course, pronextjs.dev, and that's gonna come out next couple of months or so. Working hard on that. Next.js is an incredibly complex topic, so trying to hit all the bases has been, wow, a challenge. But it's an amazing topic, and I'm really enjoying building out that content. So yeah, thank you for having me. This has been great.
Nice,
really enjoy it.
Nice. Thank you, Jack. So this could have been just a simple coffee chat. We turned this into an event. I loved doing this. So we also tried to reply to as many questions as possible. I'm almost out of voice, so I think that we can wrap this up. We'll answer the next questions next time. Thank you so much, everyone. If you want to just say something, just thank you on by in the chat. This is the moment. Thank you, Jack. Best of luck for 2024. We're already almost in February already. I don't know how this happened, but
60K. I see it for you, man. Like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna get you double your subscribers. Come on, let's do this.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye bye. See you. Bye bye. Bye bye.